Islam Moors, we're gonna be getting started real soon. We have the brother Sharif Anael-Bey come on. He's gonna speak on the booklet that he wrote, Chakras from a Moorish American Perspective. It's gonna be a very interesting interview. We're gonna get this started real soon, so just stay tuned. Go ahead though, while you're waiting, go ahead and share this link. Okay, go ahead and hit like and share, and we'll be getting started real soon. All right, Islam, peace to all the Moors in there. First and foremost, we always rise, we always give praise and honor to the Father of the universe, Allah. In addition, we give honor to our illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. We always give honors to the forerunner to the prophet, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We give honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh, Brother Emily Ill. We give honors to former Supreme Grand Sheikh, Brother D. Bailey Ill. We give honors to the current Supreme Grand Sheikh, Brother K. Dandridgel. We give honors to the Supreme Grand Council, honors to the Grand Body, honors to all Moors who have put in work, whether in leadership or any other form that I left out. We didn't leave you out. We love you. We honor you. We give honors to all the faithful members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and we give honors to all the Asiatics out there who are positive, prosperous about moving forward our community, whether they're members of the temple, whether they consider themselves Moors or not. From our perspective, you're Asiatics, you're Moors. We give honors, okay? And we're about to go ahead and get started real soon. We will have links a little later on in the description for this brother's books, because I know he's got a lot of other material too. We weren't able to get them in there yet. So if you come back tomorrow, we'll have the links in there for this brother too, so you can go check out his material. This is another powerful brother. He shares a lot of wisdom too in the group, the Facebook group. If you're online, definitely check out the Moors in America Facebook group. A lot of key pertinent information in there, whether you've been in the movement for years or if you're new to this. So you definitely want to check that out. And like I said, this brother's name is Sharif Anael-Bey, and he's got a lot of material, and we'll have the links in there too, because definitely after listening to this, you're going to want to check this brother out. And I believe he's written several books. So I have 2 of them, and we'll have the links in the description so you can get his material. All right. And this brother will be calling in pretty shortly. But, he actually wrote a very interesting booklet about chakras, okay, but from a Moorish American perspective, tying it in, with the information from the Quran and tying it in with Moorish science. And that's actually the brother calling in right now. So we're going to go ahead and let him explain.
Call from
Brother Sharif.
To accept, press 1. To
Islam.
Islam, brother man. Brother Sharif.
Peace. How you doing?
I'm well. All is well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Yeah, and everybody can hear you just fine. You're actually live right now.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah.
All right. Yes, so if I may ask you a question, brother, do you teach martial arts?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I teach martial arts. Yes, sir.
All right. This is kind of off topic, but we actually had a discussion just like maybe 2 months back with the brother Sifu Ben Hill Bay, and he's based on the East Coast, and he's been teaching martial arts for several decades. And we were actually speaking about, maybe making this a national, issue for, for the temple, to start implementing martial arts, across the board. Is that something that you would be interested in?
Martial arts is very properly taught. Martial arts, I think, is a very powerful and very beneficial addition to nation building and to just character building. So I would absolutely be on board with such an initiative. I want to start, properly, as is the custom with Moorish American members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, by first rising, giving praise to Allah, Almighty, Eternal, and Incomprehensible. I want to give honors to the last prophet in these days and times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I like to give honors to the Moorish Science Temple of America, which is the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's strategy of implementing Allah's will as it relates to uplifting fallen humanity, first and foremost by uplifting the fallen Asiatic sons and daughters of North America. I want to give honors to the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I'd like to give honors to the Moorish Science Temple of America, founded in 1913 AD. I'd like to give honors to my leader, Grand Sheikh and Moderator of the Moorish Science Temple of America, incorporated by the R. Jones Bay, and to his special staff, national, state, and local levels. I'd like to give honors to the host of this show and more in the site Moors in America, yourself, brother, and your wife and family. I'd like to give honors to my comrades, our research team, Ali's men, and I'd like to give honors to everyone listening on the call. Peace.
Islam. So great. Even though that was off topic, if that's something that we could possibly do, later on, starting that dialogue, and then we could have that dialogue also off camera, in each prospective location, or different cities. But
for sure,
definitely. So yeah, to start things off, what really got you into studying chakras, studying the energy system, or better yet, I'll let you explain.
Okay, sure. Well, the booklet that you're referring to is entitled Chakras, a Moorish American Perspective that I wrote. It's really an excerpt of a larger work. And the motivation for that work, and in particular, this particular part of that work dealing with the chakra system, the motivation for that work is to demonstrate page 3 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Symbol of America. The Prophet says in 3 places, 3 times on page 3, that these are secret lessons. You know what I'm saying?
Islam.
And so, and all too often, we're not, as members of his organization, all too often, we don't really fully appreciate what it is we actually have in our hands with that pamphlet. I have the benefit of and the experience of belonging to a number of very august organizations and societies, that affords me a different type of education. That being said, if I thought the power was in those organizations or groups, that's where I would be, and I wouldn't be in the Moorish Science Symbol of America. But being able to, coming from that education, I'm able to see a number of things in myself and my other comrades are able to see some things in that Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Symbol of America that the average lay person may not be able to see.
Islam.
So hence the purpose of, for instance, this particular book, Chakras, a Moorish American Perspective, is to demonstrate that, we don't have to go outside. Once we understand what it is that the Prophet gave us, we don't got to go outside the organization or even the literature that the Prophet had it covered. It's just understanding what it is that we're actually looking at. So, the booklet deals with the whole, topic of chakras from the perspective of the literature, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science of America.
Sorry, my mic was muted. All right, that Islam, I appreciate that. So you're kind of, I guess you could say, kind of going into the esoteric meaning behind some of the scripture in the Holy Quran, and just showing how some of that is right there in your face.
Yes, sir. I'm glad you put it that way. I'm glad you said it that way. You say the esoteric. See, here we go. Most of us, and this is when I say most of us, I'm talking about the general public. The Prophet teaches us that general opinion is no proof of truth, for the generality of men are ignorant. So the general understanding of religion is at best moral and philosophical. In other words, hey, I should just live my life a good person. But we all know people from that perspective who live better lives and are not religious. We also know people that consider themselves to be very religious but live horrible lives morally and philosophically, right? So when we say, when the term esoteric is used, right, the reason why it's set aside or there's a significance is because in the West, the term religion or just religious thought has been secularized to the point of it being a hobby. You see what I'm saying? And so in old times, religious orders had outer bodies and inner bodies like any other initiatory body.
Islam.
And so the Moorish Science Symbol of America is no different. What are the words of the AC of the MST of A? At that chamber of the Moorish Science Symbol of America, 3rd Ave. right? That's right in our
Islam.
questionnaire. So it shows you we have an outer door, we have an inner door, right? Act 7 of Divine Constitution and Bylaws says all members must promptly attend the meetings and become a part and a partial of all the lifting acts of the Moorish Science of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. So what happens with a lot of us, watch, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but what happens with a lot of us is that we'll do a whole bunch of research and we'll go to a bunch of new age bookstores and get books on chakras and get books on alchemy and get books on all this other stuff, right? Not realizing that that teaching is in concentrated form in our literature. But here's the crazy part. We'll get those books and we'll get a lot of intellectual thought from the books and no practical understanding.
Islam.
And then we're barred. We block ourselves from practical understanding. Think about it. What are we going to do with the 7 lesser brains in the body, located in the spine, when we can't even pay dues and make meetings?
Islam. I don't mean to cut you off, but hold your train of thought. I'm glad you said that, 'cause we were speaking on that just yesterday or the other day, kind of how it's a process and building yourself, and if you can't be faithfully attending holy day Sunday school meetings, if you can't put in that work that you might not see, depending on what level you're at, wisdom, you might not see that. And so if you can't hold fast to that, you might not really be able to handle the power that comes with these lessons when you really understand. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, sir, I would agree. And again, the first, the prophet Jesus and the Holy Quran and the Moorish Science of America is not the possession of a thing, it's the knowing of its use. So you have a lot of what we call in certain orders, we call them ivory tower occultists, or ivory tower esotericists, or ivory tower mystics, where they've read a lot of books, got a lot of literature. They can tell you the colors of every chakra. They can tell you the name of the chakra. They can, all these things. But you look at their lives and you look at how they think and you look at their accomplishments and you know that they have no practical knowledge because you cannot see the benefit of that knowledge in their daily living. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yes,
Islam. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. And if you could now, if you could explain a little bit, I don't know if you can see the picture on the screen, but you have a diagram in the book where it shows, it looks like someone's making salat.
Oh, yes, sir.
Could
Yes,
you
sir. Now,
hit on that a little bit?
for sure. Now it deals with, okay, here we go, right? That diagram shows, especially the middle one, it's composed of 3. It shows 3 attitudes of prayer. And then the middle one shows what people are commonly, familiar with as the Kabbalistic tree of life. So let's talk about that. See, that also bleeds into the other book called Moorish Holy Quranic Studies, Chapter 1, Chapter 11, and Act 2 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws of Comparative Understanding, right? What a lot of us are not aware of, and this is to the point I made earlier, is that what we're not aware of is that Chapter 11 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America lays out in the plainest language and in great detail a literary description of the Kabbalistic tree of life.
Islam.
And so what you have, for instance, in Chapter 1 and Chapter 11, you got Chapter 1 speaks of 3 planes: the plane of spirit, the plane of soul, and the plane of things made manifest, right? But Chapter 11, which is more or less a detailed commentary on Chapter 1, speaks of 7 planes. So how does that work? Are there 3 or are there 7? You see what I'm saying? And so we learn in Chapter 1 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Now, I'm saying all this while the listeners and are the watchers of the show are looking at that diagram. So when you look at that diagram, you'll see 2 lines that create 3 spaces. And in that top space, you see the first 3 circles, or what the Hebrews would call Sephiroth, right? Or spheres of experience. Chapter 1 tells us that wisdom speaks from the highest plane of spirit life, right? All right, and then we're also told in chapter 1 that creative fate gave the man, spirit man, a body, a soul to function on the plane of soul, and creative fate gave to soul a body of flesh to function on the plane of things made manifest. Okay. Now, we also learn in our Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple of America that the triune Allah is wisdom, will, and love. So what do we have? We have Allah the One, which is the universal Allah, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. And then we have Allah in his will to create, forming the elementary structure, which is the triangle or the triune. Because that's creative fate. Allah's will to make himself known in his creation, in manifestation. So now we're prepared, we're on to go into chapter 11 where Jesus tells Barat Rebo, right? From Allah's own record book we read, the triune Allah breathed forth and 7 spirits stood before his face. Now when you look at that diagram, you see in the top part, you see the 3. There's your triad, right? And then below you see 7, if you count them, 7 circles, right? There you go. And it says the Hebrews called these 7 spirits Elohim. And it was they that in their boundless power created everything. Why is that important? Because Allah is beyond thingness. See? The Elohim put forth the raw virgin matter that the triune Allah cast seeds into, and they grew apace. See, one of the big differences between chapter 11 and chapter 1 is that chapter 11 speaks of the teeming thoughts of Allah. Those thoughts, as per chapter 1, are seeds that go into soil. The soil was put there by the Elohim. It says these 7 spirits moved on the face of boundless space, and 7 ethers were, and every ether had its form of life. See how that works? But the big difference between chapter 11 and chapter 1 is that chapter 11 speaks of the teeming thoughts of Allah, the billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of thoughts that go into the soil of soul at various levels. And then do what? Grow and unfold to perfection of their kind. Wow. But chapter 1 only speaks of one special thought, and that thought is man himself.
Islam.
See?
Yeah.
Praise Allah.
But I would like to ask you too, if you could go in on another topic that you touched on. You might just be able to touch on this, but you were speaking about the, I guess you could say, anomalies that are being found throughout the solar system at the same area, 19.5 degrees either north or south.
For sure. Yes, sir. Let's talk about it. See, and the reason, and that relates directly to, to the topic on chakras, right? Because man is, man is the crown or the pride of Allah's creation.
Islam.
Why? Because man, or in describing that pride of the creation, man is a universe in microcosm. Flat out.
Islam.
Literally.
Yeah.
Man is a universe in microcosm, right? Man is the universe turned inside, or the universe is man turned inside out, right?
Islam.
Very literally so. So if that's literal, then there are dynamic cosmic influences and dynamic cosmic realities that we can find correspondence for inside man himself, right? All right. That being said, back in the early 90s, a scientist with Jet Propulsion Laboratory by the name of Richard Hoagland did a report, or did a presentation for the United Nations. You can still find it on YouTube. And what it was a report on what they found in the Cydonia region on Mars, right? And what was infinitely more important than the quote-unquote face on Mars and then the other structures like the D&M pyramid, which is a literal 5-sided pyramid that's plainly visible, and a whole bunch of other structures. What's more important than who, quote-unquote, built them is the fact that they were able to discern a mathematical redundancy in the measurements of all the structures. And that mathematical redundancy boiled down to the number 19.5. So they were wondering, well, well, obviously, a sign of intelligent design is redundancy. That's the sign of intelligent design. You see the same thing over and over and over again. Somebody did it on purpose, right? It's not random. So the question now became for these scientists at Jet Propulsion Laboratory, well, what's the importance or significance of 19.5? So what they started to do was research, and they came across a group of mathematicians. These mathematicians are experimental or theoretical mathematicians called topologists. And the topologists, what they do is, follow this, they mathematically experiment with higher dimensions. That's what they do. So what they realized when they came across the topologists, the reason the number 19.5 is significant to them is because that's the number that pops up when they're dealing with what's called a hypersphere. A hypersphere is a sphere that exists simultaneously in multiple dimensions. Okay, now follow me. So on math, again, they're experimenting mathematically. So they're like, okay, well, if such a thing exists, then there are certain things that we would see in 3 dimensions that would give us indicators of this thing existing in higher dimensions. So in other words, you would see anomalies in 3 dimensions that would literally be shadows of the realities going on in higher dimensions. One of those things that you would see in a hypersphere is that you would see an outwelling of energy at exactly 19.5 degrees north or south of the equator of the sphere. And the crazy part about that is that we don't even have to leave this solar system to see that. Sunspot activity on the sun, Mount Kilauea in Hawaii, Olympus Mons on Mars, the Great Red Spot on Jupiter, the similar spot on Saturn. And so you see it everywhere almost in this solar system. But here's where it really gets strange. These mathematicians also stated you would see an inwelling of energy at the pole opposite of the side of the equator that the 19.5 degree outwelling is. So if the outwelling at 19.5 degrees is south of the equator, at the North Pole, you would see an inwelling of energy. The inwelling of energy would manifest in 3 dimensions as a hexagon, a 6-pointed star at the pole. So, of course, that sounds crazy because it would defy Newtonian physics. Well, I believe in the late 80s, early 90s, the pictures they are in my book. The Voyager spacecraft, after it flew past Jupiter, did a flyby of Saturn over its North Pole and took pictures of the hexagram shape right over the North Pole. And it's rotating in opposite direction of the gas clouds.
Yeah.
And nothing in Newtonian physics can explain that.
Yeah. Wow.
So Richard Hoagland said right there to the United Nations that they have that gave them the physical evidence that at least one of the planets in our solar system exists on multiple planes simultaneously. When you're looking at Saturn, you are basically looking at a stargate.
Wow.
Now, why is that significant, people? Here we go. The Hindu, we know the word chakra is a Hindu word that means wheel or rotating sphere. That's what it means.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
We know that the correlations in the Hindu system, again, different other systems, different other cultures have different systems, right?
Islam.
But in that particular system, they deal with 7 centers. And each of those centers corresponds to one of the 7 atmosphere-bearing planets in our solar system.
Islam.
And we know those 7 atmosphere-bearing planets in our solar system correspond to 7 days of the week.
Islam.
See, in our questionnaire, we're asked how many days are in the circle.
Yeah, 7 days. Islam.
How many? Right?
Uh-huh.
according to science, how many days are in a year?
7.
What we're looking at is an ancient system of counting called base 7 counting. I won't go any further than that. That's enough right there.
Islam.
But that's what we're looking at. It's very, 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 very old. Now, why are we told that there's 7 Elohim in chapter 11? Because that is the mathematical schema of manifestation.
Islam. Wow.
We're given some secrets in our Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Symbol of America. It's just that, if we don't have sincerity, the secrets just don't open up.
Islam. You guys hear that? Yeah. So it's right there in front of you, and if you're not ready for it, it's not going to reveal itself to you,
That's a fact.
That's powerful.
I want to add a little bit more, so we make it, we bring it home as far as the chakra thing goes, right? Let's talk about. Okay, here we go. Prophet teaches us in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science of America, which is another great secret. Man is not the body nor the soul. Man, spirit and part of Allah. Right?
Islam.
We're taught in chapter 3 that the higher self is human spirit, clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. Right? That's the highest. So, we're also taught that thinking, understanding, reasoning, willing, call these not the soul. There is actions, they are not its essence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What does all this have to do with chakras? Here we go. Let's demystify. We want to demystify the whole demonstration. When you look at the body, right? The human body, there's a number of different systems. One of those systems is called the endocrine system. The endocrine system is made up of exactly 7 ductless glands. Those glands secrete hormones that govern pretty much every physiological function in the body, and but also governs psychological functions as well.
Islam.
Our sisters understand this very well, especially those that have born children. Bearing children and the rigors of that would throw your hormonal balance off. Who do you go see? An endocrinologist.
Islam.
Right? To balance the endocrine system. In a very rudimentary sense, endocrinologists deal with the 7 chakras. Why? Because the chakras are the energetic signature coming off of the 7 ductless glands of the endocrine system.
Islam.
That's what they are.
Wow. Islam. Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And here's another thing I'll shoot out there as well. Just knowing the location of these glands and then knowing their colors and so-called meditation, that's not enough. That's not what opens a chakra. Mm-hmm. And here's the other part too. Opening chakras may not necessarily be the right thing for you to do at a particular point in time. Remember, we're talking of man is not the body of the soul. Man is spirit, but man is in a body of soul, and that soul is in a body of flesh.
Islam.
So, in like for instance, in Asiatic, energetic medicine, we have a saying. The Chinese have a saying. It's you plant the stick, you see the shadow. That means if I do something physically, it affects me on my soul level and spiritual level. If I do something at the spirit level, it affects the soul and the physical body.
Islam.
You see?
Yeah.
So, like I give an example. People who are narcissists, who every second word out of their mouth is I and me. I and me, I and me. Everything's got to be about them. It's got to be them all the time. Narcissists have their base chakra overactive. It's open, and that's the problem. See what I'm saying? Absolutely, we sure do. When you got the people that are over emotional and over empathetic, right? and you know and are self-effacing to a fault and let people just run over them, and other people, they can't tell the difference. Follow me on this one. They can't tell the difference between their issues and other people's issues because they take on everybody else's issues all the time. Yeah, their heart center is open, but it's unbalanced with everything else. See how that works? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know.
Excuse me. You're hitting on how the chakras correspond, to different, I guess you could say, different natures of people. But you also spoke on like how in Kemetic lore, how the chakras correspond to the seven atmosphere bearing planets.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. See, and even that's deep. Now, going back to Richard Hoagland's demonstration at the United Nations, think about it. If man is not the body or the soul, man, spirit, and part of Allah, and then chapter 7, the prophet teaches us that power is an illusion, and that anything that has a beginning or an end is falsehood. Anything that is temporary is falsehood. Falsehood doesn't mean morally bad. It just means something that is temporary, right?
Islam.
So that means the physical planets are shadows of the real demonstration. That's what it means. Like when you hear people talk about astrology, you got people on both ends. One end that think that the physical planets govern their daily activities or daily experiences. And then the others that say, oh, it has nothing to do, astrology is nothing. It's not, it's fake. It's not real.
Yeah.
Both miss the mark. Both of them miss the mark. See what I'm saying?
Islam.
The real planet is on the iconosphere. How about that?
Islam. And that's why the prophet
Yeah.
tells you to study self.
There you go. There you go. The physical planet is a sign. See?
Yeah, Islam. Right in front of you the
Physical
whole
planet ain't
time.
the real. Yeah, it's not the real thing. And that's one of the most powerful things that came out with Richard Hoagland's presentation to the United Nations. The fact that they had scientific proof that at least planet Saturn exists on multiple dimensions. Why? Because they could see three-dimensional shadows of realities that are happening on higher dimensions. So the things that are happening on the higher dimensions is the real thing.
Islam.
The outwelling of energy and the inwelling of energy that you see in the three-dimensional plane is really the shadow. It's not the real thing.
Islam.
See that?
Yeah. Wow. Man, that's some powerful information right there. And as you can see, I mean, this is why, you need to work on yourself. We all do. And we all have to, I guess you could say, just put in work to actually gain a full grasp and understanding on, what this means and how you could put this to practical use in your life. Now, one thing I would like to, if we could end on, we're probably going to need to do this discussion again, because I think there's a lot of interest in this topic. But if you could, give some practical advice for people to take away from this, just on like what, learning about the systems within you, how you could apply this to your life in a practical way, to get, I guess you could say, benefits from this. Like, how can this help you?
Praise Allah. I would love to do that,
Islam.
brother. And we don't have to leave the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We say that, in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the question is asked, what is the nation, how long has it been? About 2,000 years ago. We're talking about Jesus, right? And what is the significance of about 2,000 years ago? Is that the date of an age, right? Is 2,160 years. And the former age was the age of Pisces, right? And so the present age is called the age of Aquarius. And a lot of people say, yeah, that's the age of I know. But the problem with that is that they misunderstand what that means. And they think that age of I know means that everything, all the secrets are out. Wrong. That's not what it means. It means that they're available to you if you put that work in. That's what it means. See, in the age of Pisces, you could work till you're half dead and not get nothing. right? But in the age of Aquarius now, it's like, oh, okay, you can get it, but you still got to put the work in. Nobody's walking up to you and putting it in your head. You got to put that work in. That being said, we're given a lot of secrets, but there's no such thing as a cookbook of secrets. That's one of the reasons why a lot of us overlook the real jewels in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Symbol of America. So when you're told that the Hebrews call these seven spirits the Elohim, he said the Hebrews do. What do our brothers in Haiti call them? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Truth is truth, no matter what time, climb, or culture. The technology is still the same. See, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Symbol of America gives us the root technology.
Islam. And I think my wife just typed that in the chat. She said we have the Orishas. She's actually of Haitian descent, so Islam.
Oh, then she already knows.
Yeah.
Then she already knows,
For
right?
Sure.
She knows. And so right. So the Hebrews called them Elohim. Other cultures call them something else, but it doesn't change the truth, right?
Islam. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And in our chapter on inconstancy, the prophet says that they who furnished thee with a body furnished it with weakness, but he who gave thee a spirit, right, gave you resolution. So our teachings are unfailingly self-confirming. It demonstrates in chapter 11 that, first of all, man, the higher self, in other words, Elohim ain't have, here's the big secret, people. Elohim ain't have nothing to do with your spirit. Elohim creates the containers in generations and generations that house the seed that came forth from the heart of Allah. The purpose of the seed is to outgrow the container. That's the purpose of the seed, is to outgrow the container. So the containers have to get better and better and better. And we're told about that in chapter 1. Chapter 1 says that, know that cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun, and the spirit of the mighty Allah that rules the solar stars are his protectors and his guide, and will lead to victory. That ain't got nothing to do with your flesh. Allah don't care nothing about your flesh. You see what I'm saying? Right. And so I'll quote before I finish my answer to your question, brother. I'll quote Brother R. Jones Bey on this. He said this to us recently at convention. He said, we are on the plane of manifest. As Muslims, we're on the plane of manifest, but we should not be concerned with the manifestation of planes. See, in other words, our in restoring man's lost heritage, as Jesus spoke to, that means that we have to rise above the Elohim. We rise above the Elohim. As your wife, as she demonstrates, from her culture, you either command the gods or you food for the gods. One of the two. You know what I'm saying? So we're to rise above the Elohim. That being said, we have to master manifestation. We have to master the conditions of the container. So in first doing that, we learn the personalities of the Elohim. So we're given the hint. Now we got to put the work in. Wait a minute. 7 Elohim, 7 days of the week, 7 planets. Each of those has an alchemical color. A color is what? Visual mathematics. It's a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
So now you need to demonstrate or at least or begin to research what that vibration, what effect that vibration has on your frame. You know, the number one profession that does that in American society today? Advertising. That's why they spend millions and millions of dollars to find out this very specific color of red that they put on the signs, because they know it causes you to feel hungry when you drive by. See? Praise Allah. So you already know. Yes, sir. Well, and all occult means is hidden. See that? All occult means is hidden, and that goes back to our history of our forefathers. The reason it's called a cult is because it had to go into occultation. In other words, the science and the culture had to go in behind the veil of secrecy. Why? The Spanish Inquisition. That's why.
Islam. And if I could just repeat that, I didn't realize my sound was out. I was just agreeing with this brother. Just I work in marketing. I know that definitely, the more successful you can be in marketing and advertising is in understanding psychology, even into the occult aspect of understanding, the effects that different colors and things like this can have on people. You're trying to pull people in a certain direction. So, definitely,
right.
He's on point with that.
Praise the Lord. And see, what here's the beauty. Coming full circle. The beauty of that. Other people will call that a cult. But see, the prophet said, I came to remove, I took the cover off all the secret organizations. That doesn't mean he was a whistleblower. He wasn't a whistleblower.
Islam.
When he said he took the cover off all the secret organizations, he meant that what he gave us is the fulfillment and the manifestation of their secret.
Islam.
So we can practice what they practice in secret as our religion.
Islam. Yes.
See what I'm saying? That's why that's significant. So so they call it a cult. Okay, you call it a cult. I call it Islamism.
Yes.
This ain't no witchcraft. Me understanding those helpers of Allah that help to create help to make the frame that I'm in, the container that I'm in, the temple that my spirit resides in. If my spirit resides in it, right? Doesn't our Holy Quran teach us that isn't the master, more honorable than the walls I'm paraphrasing. The master more honorable than the walls of the temple. So that means I need to know. It's my responsibility to know every inch of the dwelling my spirit is in.
Islam.
So I need to know what colors, represent which Elohim, and then take note of how that affects me at the soul level, how it affects me at the spiritual level, how it affects me at the physical level. This is a part of my Islamism.
Islam. And what you just said was powerful. I mean, you guys might have to rewind this back and listen to that. That's powerful. What the prophet actually brought to us. And that's why, you have to put in some work to actually understand this. Don't get turned off by, going into the temple and going to, Sunday school, holy day. I think even more so, especially, with, I don't know if it's what's in the food, the water, the media, entertainment, everything is like microwaved. Everybody wants it now. You got it here. You got the internet. You got Google. And maybe that's why some of the information is, is making it harder for people, driving people crazy. But you definitely, you have to put in the work really to truly understand what you have, and when you are patient enough to work on yourself, to build yourself up to be able to handle it, then you get the rewards, that Allah has for you, gaining fully understanding and being able to actually put this to practical use too, in your everyday life as well.
Well, brother, see, that's the demonstration right there. That's the demonstration. Can you put it into practice? Can you go from speculative to operative?
Islam.
Because until you can do that, then you have a nice, pretty car with no keys to the engine to turn the ignition.
Yes. Islam.
Then you're surprised if the car goes anywhere. Somebody has to push it, and you're actually surprised if it moves, right? But the prophet in Caveat Emptor, it said that the prophet, and I'm paraphrasing, is that he has latent powers that he can call upon at a moment's notice, right?
Islam.
He also said, imitate I, the prophet.
Islam. Yeah.
So if we don't have access to similar things, then we're remiss in our duty to imitate our prophet.
Islam.
I had a good friend of mine. I had a good friend of mine years ago. He's from Indonesia. He was a Muslim from Indonesia. By the way, people, Indonesia is the largest Islamic country in the world.
Yes.
Not even close to Saudi Arabia is not even close. Indonesia is the largest Islamic country in the world. Anyway, this brother from Indonesia practiced Indonesian martial arts, right?
All right.
And in Indonesian martial arts, their form of protection, how they protect their body, they call it dua. And anybody who speaks Arabic knows what dua means. It means short prayer. Now, he's demonstrated not just in front of me, but a number of my other comrades, pouring hydrochloric acid over his hand, and it burnt the clothing on his hand and didn't burn his hand after he prayed. No, word is bond. I can, seriously. And then he talked about some things that we would consider utterly amazing. And let me tell you what he said. He said, listen, I know it's hard for you to believe. Your people were put to sleep. But if you come to Indonesia, I'll show you myself. Then he said this. You all are taught that if you pray for something, it probably won't happen. With us in Islam, if you pray for something to happen and it doesn't happen, that means you prayed wrong. He said, you guys would, in your country, you would call that type of thinking witchcraft. See? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The prophet gave us a real religion. The problem is that in the West, the Western psyche doesn't understand true religion. They secularized it. They turned religion into hobbies. And guess what? The super woke community, no disrespect, but the super woke community and the diet woke community, et cetera, take on the European psychology and throw the baby out with the bathwater. They forget that our forefathers were the founders of the first religious creed for the salvation of mankind on earth. So we throw it out. We think it has no power because we've taken on the European idea, and we think that is the whole idea. Mm-hmm. See? Yep. We think that there's religious knowledge rules the world, period, point blank, whether people like it or not. Yeah. Problem is people don't know what true religion is.
Mm-hmm. But we're still looking outside ourselves, for the authority figures, so like you said, we're looking at, no knock to the Europeans, but we're looking at them, to explain and even define, our sciences. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's a fact, brother. That's a fact. And, if all you gotta do is watch the news and see that they're having a hard time holding things together for themselves right now. So we don't figure it out, and we don't really, really get on board with the prophet's instructions, then as things crash down around their ears and heads, it's going to crash down around our ears and heads too. Yeah, definitely. We better start doing what Jesus told Barata Rabo, and he said, regard not what any man has said. Mm-hmm. Let us go with mind into the land of fleshless things. Mind never does forget. Meaning the source of the true information is inside, not outside.
Islam. Yeah. Now that's key right there. I think we could end on that note. I definitely, maybe we could revisit this topic and go in a little more in depth on this, at another date. And also, if you'd be open to speaking with the other brothers, Sifu Ben Hill Bey, maybe we could get that dialogue going forward, about implementing the martial arts, just by explaining, some of the benefits of it. I really think that would be key. But, I really appreciate you coming on. And that was some powerful information. It's only been an hour, but you really dropped a lot of jewels, like seriously, man. I can see just, from in the chat, man. People are really loving this. I'm going to get links from you later on, so that we can share your site and your books and things in here for people. Yes, all right? If you want to, though, anything you want to let the people know about, like website, books, upcoming projects, please, the floor is yours. Go ahead and let everybody know.
Well, there's a number of things. What I'll do is I'll share the links with you, and you can share them with you with your subscribership. I'm just appreciative that I'm just appreciative for the opportunity, brother. To be honest with you, we pray to be useful, and we want to make the movement move. You know what I'm saying? And so, the brothers, my brothers with Ali's men, and the brothers and sisters in my study group and in our temple and in our organization, we love Allah and we love the Prophet and we love this movement, brother. The Prophet said, I prefer Moors. We prefer Moors, brother. and
Our platform is definitely open to you and the other members of Ali's Men. Love to have you back on. We definitely gonna have to get you back on here soon. I want to thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, yeah, I appreciate it. So we're going to definitely have you back on again. Thanks for coming on. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you watch this, make sure you click like and share this, because this information needs to spread out to the community. We need the other Moors, to know what's going on, because you may think that you're getting some information, from the internet, but you actually, you need to speak with some of the brothers and sisters in real life, and maybe some who've been putting in some work for a while, so that they can, help you gain more insight on it, because there's more to it than just what you're reading or seeing on YouTube. All right. So once again, thank you, brother Sharif Anael-Bey, for coming on. We're going to go ahead and end on that note. You guys have a blessed evening. Make sure you share this video. Peace and love.
Thank you, brother. Peace and love.